With this Leo eclipse, we've talked about what happens when privilege goes unrecognized and how kuleana asks us to create repair. Now, let's get personal and look at how this solar eclipse in Leo is showing up in your own chart and what it's asking of you. I'm Leslie Tagorda, business astrologer and creator of the Astrology method. If you've been following this series, hit subscribe. This is where things get personal. In part of my research for my upcoming book, Astrology for Changemakers, I've been creating a list of traditionally published astrology books written by women of color. And there's a whopping 22 of us, me included, with my book coming out in September 8th. And one of these astrologers that I love and respect, whose latest book also came out earlier this year, is AC Brown. AC Brown on Instagram just writes the most beautiful and poignant posts. In her post about this upcoming Leo total eclipse, that south node again, that there's this drain, and like what we talked about in part 1, there is a cost to unrecognized privilege. AC Brown calls her theme of this solar eclipse, what it cost you. And I just love that thought. And so as we're thinking about all of the lessons that we've learned of what not to do to repair and use our privilege, like Stephen Forrest, and the astrology of this particular eclipse with all of the oppositions between Venus and Libra, Aries and Neptune and Aries, Jupiter and Mercury across from Pluto and Aquarius, and the South Node conjunct the sun and the moon, starting this new cycle by releasing something. I want you to look at your chart and to step into your leadership fully. But how do we step into our leadership when we're still being held back by old parts of our frail identity? Now, no judgments. I'm not calling you imperfect. We are all human and we all do these things in our lives. So how do we recognize these old parts of our identity that we're clinging onto from this place of defense and move into this place of equitable leadership for the age of Aquarius? Find the house that contains Leo 20 degrees. That's the area of your life and leadership where this eclipse is asking you to release an old, fragile identity so you can bring a more authentic and ethical one. If you're an Aries rising or have 20 degrees of Leo in your 5th house, where have you been performing joy and confidence, leaning on your privilege to skip the real work of feeling secure in who you are? Let that go so you can truly celebrate and enjoy life and internalized liberation. For Taurus rising or 20 degrees of Leo in the 4th house, where have you decided who belongs and who doesn't? Leaning on your privilege to define home or community on your own terms. Let that go so you can create belonging in spaces that build confidence in you and everyone around you. For Gemini rising or 20 degrees of Leo in the 3rd house, where have you needed to be the loudest or most right voice, leaning on your privilege to be heard without ever having to earn it? Let that go so you can express yourself and communicate from love, not urgency. For Cancer rising or 20 degrees in the 2nd house, where have you used your influence or lifestyle to prove your worth, leaning on your privilege to make success look effortless? Let that go so you can add real value and create results without needing to prove anything. For Leo rising or 20 degrees of Leo in the 1st house, where have you needed to lead and take up space first, leaning on your privilege to assume the room was already yours? Let that go so you can get things started from the heart, not performance. For Virgo rising or 20 degrees of Leo in the 12th house, what part of yourself have you been hiding out of fear of exposure, leaning on your privilege to stay comfortably invisible instead of doing the work? Let that go so you can finally shine your light with generosity and love. For Libra rising Or 11th house activation, where have you been protecting your standing with your community, leaning on your privilege to keep your place without questioning who's been left out? Let that go so you can change the world through a collective vision rooted in courageous open-heartedness. For Scorpio rising or 10th house activation, where have you been managing your public image, reputation, or status, leaning on your privilege to control the narrative rather than earn trust? Let that go so you can deliver on your mission by showing up as a truly respected guide. For Sagittarius rising or 9th house activation, where have you needed your beliefs or philosophy to be the right one, leaning on your privilege to never question where that certainty came from? Let that go so you can expand into your own purpose and philosophy of love. Capricorn rising or 8th house activation, where have you been controlling how your power and courage are perceived, leaning on your privilege to avoid the vulnerability of being truly seen? Let that go so you can trust, heal, and transform your capacity for courage, confidence, and love. For my Aquarius rising or 7th house activation, where have you needed to outshine instead of collaborate, leaning on your privilege to assume your voice mattered more than theirs? Let that go so you can co-create with other vibrant, creative people. And lastly, for Pisces risings or 6th house activation, where have you been overworking to earn your worth, leaning on your privilege to avoid asking why you never felt like enough without it? Let that go so you can build a daily practice of embodied love. As you can see, unrecognized privilege has a huge cost. And with this South Node total eclipse, if we don't recognize our privileges, that invoice is coming due. So take a look at your own internalized privileges, not from a place of judgment, but you don't want to turn that into entitlement. You want to use your privileges and walk with your privileges and understand how unrecognized privileges do harm. May these prompts for you really open up something in you and look at all the ways you've been still hiding through your defenses so that you can release them along with this eclipse. This is the kind of chart examination going placement by placement to find where you're being asked to evolve and grow. This is exactly what we do inside my Astrobrand certification, starting with power and privilege. If you're a practitioner of any sort who wants to weave in a powerful dialect of astrology based in leadership, self-actualization, and branding, this is the certification for you to find your astrological voice. Details and link to the certification application are in the description below. And if this eclipse series touched you somehow, please consider subscribing, adding a comment, and leaving your feedback. There's so much more from where this came from. So thank you again. If this episode, if this podcast has touched your heart, please share it with others. Please leave me a rating and review so we can reach the hearts of even more changemakers like you.